let's actually go into, hey everyone. Okay, so people probably saw the title, Unity 6.7 first alpha build. Testing it out. I'm also gonna talk about like what features to expect with Unity 6.7, what major changes, and pretty much all that kind of stuff, because there are a lot of things people should know about Unity 6.7. But yes, you can download Unity 6.7 right now. You can actually go to Unity Hub. Do note it is the very first alpha, so it's more of a stopgap change. Oh, sorry, that was actually a member of Unity's dev team. I reported an issue with Unity 6.7 release notes being slightly off. Seems they're already looking into it. Good. But anyways, yes, for those that want to test out Unity 6.7, the first alpha has come out. If you're wanting to try out CoreCLR, because the big thing about Unity 6.7 is CoreCLR. CoreCLR is coming in the second alpha. Only the first alpha is available right now. So CoreCLR is coming in the next alpha. Just a heads up. So it should be like 2 weeks, maybe 2 or so weeks for CoreCLR to be publicly available for anybody wanting to test that out. So yeah. And you guys can actually see up here, I have a project, I'm already in the Unity 6.7 alpha, and just to show, I've already made sure that I can actually build, I haven't made the main menu yet, so the main menu, ignore the main menu and stuff, but I just want to show, like, I can actually get into Unity 6.7, I can actually build different projects, 2D and 3D, and so forth. So, yeah. Let's actually talk about a couple of things first, because a lot of people hear that they're changing a lot of API, they're changing a lot of stuff with 6.7, and they're like deprecating old legacy API, old legacy code. Well, what all are they doing? Warning, flashbang, I'm going to actually open up the web browser, which is actually light mode, sorry. For anybody that doesn't know, there are several huge changes coming in Unity 6.7 alpha. Some of these are already in the alpha. You can test out right now because the alpha is already publicly available. But just so you know, Unity is actually doing links to the C runtime dynamically. If anybody's wondering, well, how does that affect me? If you're going to be updating to Unity 6.7, for them to be able to support the newer C# API, the modern .NET framework, like .NET Core, and all that kind of stuff, and CoreCLR, they had to link the C runtime dynamically instead of statically. Up until now, Mono Unity's, the way Unity was making builds with Mono, used what is called static and like static linking. With dynamic linking, there's going to be some changes for DLLs. For most users, that's not a problem. But if you are a Unity developer and you're using plugins, think of like Fmod for audio. Like if you use like something like Fmod for audio, or you have other DLL inside of your project, you will need to wait for them to update it, because the binaries and stuff will need change for stuff like that. But if you have no DLLs, like plugins, basically literally like plugins inside your project, you don't have to worry about this at all. Not any worries about now. Do note there is some changes in 6.7 where you actually have more restrictions on serialized data. Technically, these were always a thing, but Unity never, like, they had warnings, but they didn't have like errors. Well, Unity is now making them an error. The reason why is for reference. If you notice here, they have like an example where it's like public class self-reference and then public self-reference. Since this is just a class file and you're trying to serialize it, this will create an infinite loop of serializing, and Unity 7 is going to actually force that be error. Fun fact, older versions of Unity up into Unity 6.7, that wouldn't actually have caused error. Unity just would have literally not setting data, like non-serialized it. And we can actually demonstrate this. Let's actually do some Unity 6.7 stuff. Yeah, let's actually show off this. So, fun fact, if I actually go in here, I'm going to create a empty script. I'm going to say reference loop, because that's what this is. And I'm also going to say loop test. It's going to create a couple different assets, but let's do this. But yep, there we go. So I'm going to open up the IDE and bring it over, and I'm going to actually demonstrate like what this all does while it's recompiling. Also, like if one serializable class references another serializable class that also has a reference to itself. So like this class, so we have like indirect reference that references this one, but this one references this one. This will also create an infinite loop. Unity 6.7 also now kind of makes that error, which is good because those were really bad errors. And the reason why those were important to bring up is like before Unity 6.7, the data was just not serialized. 6.7 now actually tries to prevent data loss, which is important for CoreCLR. So let's just do serializable. I just want to show this off. Serializable, let's pull that in. So if you actually did like this, I'm going to say loop. Yeah, I'm going to just say loop. Nope. How dare you? So I'm going to actually just show this off real quick. And I'm going to actually go back to Unity. And what we're going to have is a very fun time. Oh, I just realized there is no console I need to add. Oh, they might not have, oh, yeah, here it is. So there is a warning here saying field loop creates a direct self-reference. So 6.7 introduces a lot of that, and like it may seem like boring things to talk about when we're talking about like a huge version that's incoming, but these things are important to know because I want to bring attention to things that people need to know about if they want to update to 6.7 and actually be able to use like their project to run properly. So yeah, you got to be careful with I'm going to close these other ones out. You got to be careful with like creating self loops. For anybody wondering, you can just literally say like non-serialized, and that's how you fix it. If anyone wonders why you ever need this, or like you would have to do this in like Unity A star, like you would have like a for example a public class, and then you have like a node, and then you would have like a public node, and it'd be like the parent node. So like this would actually be in, if I actually like serialize this, Unity now in 6.7 would actually consider this error like a warning, and it's going to be converted over to error in a new patch for 6.7. So keep that in mind. But yeah, so there's actually reasons like why they did this. If anybody's done like A star or like any custom like grid finding system or node based system, like a tree node structure, they might have ran into that without Unity telling them that that's actually a data error. They might have ran into bugs without realizing that their data is not being saved properly. So that's one thing that people need to think about for Unity 6.7. They're removing the old version of the noise. Thank God. It was like the old version is still in Unity. Also, input system is built being migrated into built-in package. If I actually open up the packages, and if I actually go to the packages real quick, you'll notice that we have a couple different things that actually should be. Oh, I don't think they actually done this change yet. I do know a couple of these changes that is in 6.7, the breaking changes. They're going to be coming in either the next alpha or the alpha after. I believe the input system being put as a built-in package is not due yet. It's actually going to be in a couple of alphas later. Just heads up. They're also removing some of the old Android stuff. But the reason why I'm bringing these up on stream, it's important to know what's being removed, what's being embedded, because you might have to do like a different define files to in your like script defines, and also the Oculus XR package is being removed finally. That's actually been outdated for a while. Okay, one second. Unity Dev actually messaged me back about something. I just want to. I don't know why I brought it over to a different screen. It's on public forum. Okay, that's what I figured. Thank you, Tato Das. I don't know if I said that right. I'm sorry to the Unity Dev. But yeah, so for anybody wanting to like update to Unity 6.7, like if they're, let's say they're using older version of Unity, like they're starting from like, let's say 6.3. let's say like the previous LTS, what are they going to need to do? One, you're going to need to figure out if any of your code uses like domain reload API, because they're going to be removing domain reload. That's one of the huge build and compilation improvements that Unity is bringing. So like if you actually go to your editor, test if your project works fine with no domain reload or scene. You want to make sure like your project actually works with this setting. If it does work, you should be okay. If it doesn't work with any of these, you need to look into Unity 6.5's API that was introduced called autostatic. I'll actually show this off. Like I'll actually use these as an example. Whenever you're updating to Unity 6.5, you might have like a static variables that you had like a on initialized load methods or something that actually like reset static values or fields whenever you did like a code reload or anything. Since domain reload is going away, you got to change how you're doing that. So for example, I'm going to just say int test, or let's say int number test. So one of the things that Unity introduces is the autostatic cleanup. You can actually use this to actually replace some of your domain-specific API, and this will also, like, if your API uses this in 6.5 and newer, you're also a huge step forward for CoreCLR support in your project. Do note whenever you're using like autostatic cleanup, you have to add your class to partial. Add partial to your class. The reason why, whenever you are actually implementing the autostatic cleanup, there's a source generator in the background, and Unity is actually creating that like extra code inside here. So like if I actually go to see if okay, let's go to, I was gonna see if I can find related files. Oh, oh wait, is Unity not done? Unity was not done code reloading. But anyways, like Unity does actually like create files behind the scenes, just heads up. Oh, you know, I can see them inside the Assembly Explorer, but just, you know, there's a partial class that's actually created. So what this will do is between entering play modes and stuff, like and like basically like going in and out editor, like this value will actually be reset, which is good. I mean, you don't need to do it for any static variable. It's just if you are expecting the static variable to be a certain value, like even whenever you exit enter play mode, it's probably a good idea to do this. For example, like let's say you have a static reference to like a database, and or like a certain manager, or like a initial spawn position. And you might set it like oh, you know what, here's a good example. Here's actually a real world example of this. Let's go to my level loader. Let's go to level loader. So let's actually go to level transition, and it should be, oh, where, might actually be inside the spawn system now. Yeah, inside spawn system. I remember moving around. Yeah, current spawn position. All right, so here's a real world example of this. So I have a current spawn position. Basically, when I'm going from one area, so for the Metroidvania project, when I enter one region and exit another region, depending on which entry into that area, so if I'm entering from like a different entry points from one area to another, you know, your player is going to want to spawn at a different spawn point. If you're like coming from the left, you want to be able to spawn on the right. Or specific rooms, I set a current spawn position for the position that I need to spawn into when this new region or the new scene loads. But obviously, like whenever I'm exiting, entering play mode, I want that value to reset, because whenever I go into play mode, I'm going to be loading from the save spot instead of like a actual like scene transition area. So I want that value reset between entering and exiting play mode. Do note, there's more than just autostatic cleanup as well. There's like on enter play mode, on enter edit mode. So there's actually a few more of these. These are not editor API. This is actually runtime API. So do note, there's also on code deinitializing, initializing, and all that kind of stuff. So basically, if you are using, actually, let me pull up the actual Let me actually pull up the documentation page, because there is actually like a documentation page for this. And it actually has a list of like what replaces what API for newer, like Unity 6.5 and up. And these were introduced in Unity 6.5, but they're basically was added early to help with CoreCLR support. Fun fact about Unity 6.6. People were wondering, like, why was 6.6 such a short alpha? I'm not kidding. The reason, one of the major reasons 6.6 was such a short alpha was because they were just giving extra time for packages to actually implement this API. Like, and I can actually show that. So like if I go, for example, inside of, I know, Cinemachine, and you'll notice that Cinemachine actually says 6.6 and instead of also like the animation packages. If I actually go to like change logs, you'll notice that there's a mention of added support for fast interplay mode. The reason why 6.6 was literally such a short alpha, it was mainly just to give the package devs enough time to add this one thing. So if you like look for a lot of packages, you'll see like this one comment, added support for fast interplay mode, and so forth. They basically had to give time for packages to implement this API. And just to even show this off, if I actually go to the newest .NET code for game objects that came out literally yesterday, you'll also notice inside added thing, added support for Unity's or fast interplay mode with domain reload disabled. So like this is also used by a lot of like packages to prepare for like CoreCLR. So if you actually are like using this, it really makes it, like if you already replace your code starting with like 6.5, 6.6 and so forth with this a little bit over time, by the time you reach 6.7, like a lot of your code should actually just work fine with CoreCLR. But for anybody wondering what it is, I made a video on the autostatic cleanup, but just in case people haven't seen it, it basically restores or reapplies field initializers when entering, exiting play mode. And keyword is entering or exiting play mode. It does on both, or it should do it on both, just heads up. And it's for static values. And again, you have to have your class as partial. I believe in the documentation page, let's actually go to the 6.6 because they added more information. I believe they actually added a list of like, oh yeah, here it is. Choosing right attribute, here you go. So I'll also put this inside of the chat if anybody ever wants to like a link to it. They do tell you like what is the typical choice. So like if you're needing to clean up events and delegates, so for example, like if wrong thing, I'm meant to go to JetBrains Writer. If I actually go to JetBrains Writer here, I actually go into like the spawn system, you'll probably notice that I have like some initial player spawn handler stuff and then like player respawn handler. I can actually add like I can do like auto static cleanup on here, and what it'll do is like whenever I'm entering, exiting play mode, it will remove all registered objects that are listening to this event. The reason why this is actually good is you know, like normally in like on enable or on disable, you know, you have people do like event registering and stuff like that, and to prevent like errors. So like whenever they do on disable, like they make sure they clean up the event register. Depending on your case, like before I actually had to first minus it and then plus it with domain reload turned off. Now since we have these things, I can actually go to like level ready handler, and I can actually just add this now. I can actually just say auto static cleanup and set this as a partial class now. And now I don't actually need to do this anymore. Like I don't have to worry about like cleaning it up just in case. And if anybody's wondering why I had to clean it up anyways, I have editor like editor tooling code and stuff for like debug spawning and stuff like that. So there's chances of like certain things to run inside of the editor, not even entering play mode. But like just by adding like this, I no longer have to worry about running into that. And it also prevents bugs. Basically, if you accidentally forget to deregister an event, well, that's okay because this will take care of that for you. It'll help like cover you. So it's nice. But yeah. But basically for like people wanting to like slowly move up to 6.7 from 6.5, any code that you need to like do static cleanup, you need to actually apply these. You might need to apply it on every static depending on how you're actually using your static. And it will literally apply it, whenever you do this, it will do it to the initial value. So like whenever AutoStack cleanup runs, even if I edit this to 100 during play mode, when it exits it, it'll reinitialize it to 5. If I don't have an initial value, well, it'll turn it to the default value of integer, so 0. So it's it just reinitializes field. It doesn't change it to like the default of the like type. It actually just, if you have an actual initialized value, it'll make sure it goes back to that, which is very useful. And they did add new warnings and error codes for Roslyn compiler to also help warn people if like there's a mistake or something. Just heads up. But there was also there should be something. Okay, there's literally should be a graph that actually shows like the differences, like with and like what replaces what. Okay, now that's same page. Go reload. Yeah, okay, here it is. Yeah, I'll also put this one. Okay, yeah, so this code lifecycle. Sorry, I was trying to figure out like where I seen that in the manual. Here's a different page. So if anybody's trying to figure out like, okay, when do I need to do on code deinitializing, on code unloading? This actually tells you, so here's the older API that you replace with the new API. So there's actually like a manual page that shows you like if you're trying to update to CoreCLR, what API needs to be replaced with the new API and exactly how to replace them. So like a lot of people have initialize onload and initialize onload method. Well, that's replaced with on code initializing. Just heads up. So if you are using like initialize onload or initialize onload method, that's being replaced by on code initializing. Just keep that in mind. If you want CoreCLR and Unity 6.7 support, go ahead and just start like updating. This was introduced, these were introduced in 6.5. So if you are already like testing out 6.5, you could slowly just replace them over time. And also replaces like some of the runtime initialize and like subsystem registering. So just heads up. And I do like that they actually tell you like when this happened, like when the actual exact life cycle phase is. So basically in the end, this is one of the things you need to check out if you're going to update to Unity 6.7 and you want to use the CoreCLR. CoreCLR is available 2 weeks, maybe it might be a little bit longer. This is official Unity's response, by the way. This is officially from Unity. The first alpha 6.7, so the one that I actually have this project in, because this project is already built and playing with 6.7. So like I already know like I can actually make builds with 6.7. But CoreCLR is coming the next patch, so 2 weeks. If they have a bug or they might need a little bit more cleanup time, it might be between 2 to 4 weeks. So if anybody's wanting to just go to 6.7 alpha just to test out CoreCLR, sorry, you got to wait like a couple more weeks. Sorry about that. Oh yeah, if anybody's using play mode state change, like .enter play mode and stuff like that, it could be replaced by on entering play mode. Same thing with on exiting play mode and so forth. And on exit, on entering edit mode. And if anybody's wondering like why is there on exiting play mode and then there's on entering edit mode, you'd think like, okay, those are the same things. Wrong. On exiting play mode is actually part of the build. So like when you make a build, when you first load up your actual games, like if someone is playing your game, like actual game build, that's actually still considered the play mode stuff. So that's why we have a on exiting and on entering play mode, and then like a on entering edit mode and on exiting edit mode. The edit mode is literally for Unity Editor, which you can even see it's in namespace Unity Editor. And then you notice the on entering play mode and on exiting play mode are actually for the normal Unity thing. So like if I were to play, when the player application starts up, this will actually run. So if anybody is needing to like set up like databases, the very first frame, like before this first scene is even loaded, like literally when the first like set of data is being initialized, when a player clicks a player build, if you need to do like set up databases or dialogues, or if you need to like load certain resources and stuff, you can actually use on entering play mode and actual build. Fun fact, that's actually kind of what I'm doing. If I actually go into my data thing, I actually have a database registry, and you see preloaded database stuff. I'm actually loading these databases and making sure that my game's dialogue, my character database, stat system, and loot table, and all that kind of stuff is actually loaded before the first scene is actually loaded in game builds. And what that allows me to do is like I can actually use like certain stack methods to actually like try or get databases, and I know my databases will not be null unless I somehow deleted them during while editing the actual like build. Then that's an issue. But yeah, so that's actually one of the use cases of that. So if anybody's needs to do that, Unity has made it a lot easier for you. And if you notice, the older API did not have a build application equivalent. The old API that it replaces was actually only editor supported. So just a heads up, we got a little bit more options. And they do have some examples of like how to do that already in manual to the documentation pages. So certain changes to note. Some of these changes are going to be coming in the next couple of patches. Input system is actually going to be built into the editor. Just a heads up. I don't know if actually they might have already removed input manager. I don't think they did yet. No, they haven't yet. All right, but input system package is actually going to be built into the editor. The denoising is actually, I think the older denoise API was actually removed in 6.6 beta this morning. So that's actually already removed in 6.6, just a heads up. Can you design a pool table, all parts separate database? What? Yeah, I don't know what you mean. Can you design a pool table? I'm going to just assume... yeah, anyways, basically, trying to remember, where was I? Oh yeah, for people that are also wanting to, worried about certain removal stuff, heads up, like certain packages are now built in module, like fun fact. What I mean by that is like, if I actually go to the burst compiler, oh yeah, so yeah, you can't even see the burst compiler code. You'll notice that there's literally no burst package inside my packaging, but I actually do have burst compiled, like, oh wait, okay, I haven't seen the new inspector. This is new. This is actually completely new in 6.7. I actually haven't seen this yet. So I'm not I'm not a 3D modeler or designer. I'm just more of like a physics programmer and stuff for Unity. But I was gonna say, oh hey, you can see paint.net. Oh my god. Oh yeah, that's actually used for, fun fact, there's actually assembly code for paint.net for assembly stuff. You can actually see my custom burst compiled code. Okay, they really updated this. For anybody that hasn't used like the burst compiler and actually looked at your code in assembly, yes, I said that right. I literally looked at my code in assembly. This is actually my code in assembly. There's actually some noticeable changes inside of the burst compiler. Wow, this is a lot easier. Mainly this side, the left panel. The left panel over here where it actually shows some of my custom burst and math formulas. That's actually where the main differences is. It's missing something though. Where's my tile map? I have a custom entity tile map burst checking. Okay, I'll check that on later. Okay, so anyways, as I was saying, burst compiler, as you can see, even though it's not shown in the package list, I have it. So burst compiler is a built-in now. I don't think mathematics is going to be yet built in, but it is like a dependency for most code. Oh, also, if anybody's wondering about the new animation stuff, just saying. Whoops, no, that's actually that. Let's go to animation rigging. If you notice, animation rigging 6.6 June 16th. If anybody's seen the there was a package called animation rigging. Unity is actually making it a core module. It actually is already a core module inside 6.6 beta, just heads up. But yeah, animation rigging 6.6 June 16th. If anybody's seen the there was a package called animation rigging. Unity is actually making it a core module. It actually is already a core module inside 6.6 beta, just heads up. It's actually is already a core module inside So that's actually going to be for some animation tools. Just saying, keep an eye on that. Trying to say, oh yeah, I was going to say, point out there's a lot of new embedded packages. The reason why I'm bringing these up, if you have a custom package and you have a reference to any of the built-in packages, you might have to change your package JSON. So for example, if I go to my package thing, you'll notice that I have a com.unt.burst. Depending on what I'm doing, I might actually have to, in the 6.7 of Unity, I might actually have to remove this because burst is no longer like actual like package name, and there's actually different scripting defined. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is like for 6.7, if you have any scripting defines, you might have to change them. Unity has there is already a list. Where is it? Let me go to forums because they already mentioned the new scripting defines for the input. Yeah, there are new scripting defines for like the input and stuff. That's going to be changing. Scripts which are guarded, yeah, with the package X Unity input, those will need to be changed to the new scripting define. I think if you just use like the enable input, this is actually one that's already been inside Unity for a while, but there's actually also a package X Unity input system. But for now on, if you are doing like Unity 6.7, you cannot use the package X scripting define. You have to use like the enable input system scripting define. Just a heads up for anybody that's using that in code. So that's actually why I'm bringing up like going into package manager and mentioning these things. Because like if you have any script or anything that's referencing that, they will break in 6.7. Just a warning. Yeah, so just gotta update those. Also, if anyone's wondering why there was actually two different scripting defines for input system, so the package X Unity input system actually allowed you to actually like say, hey, only if like the input system is above a certain version, where like if you had the other package or like the other scripting defined, just enable input system, it actually did not care what input system package you use. So that's why there was actually already two. One, you could set an input package and so forth. So if you have any references to burst compiler, if you're using any burst compiler script defining or anything for input system, you're going to need to update that for 6.7. Just a heads up. Trying to think what else I need to warn people about. Obviously, if you're not using URP, if you're using built-in render pipeline, if you're in the middle of a project and you can't update, oof, I'm sorry. But obviously, try to get into like the habit of using. If you're able to, if you're on a version of Unity like 6.5 that you can use the auto stack stuff, start using that. If you are on a like a Unity 6.3 or something, just start trying to figure out like, and you're gonna want to update your project, just start planning ahead. My advice, if you are on 6.3, I'm not kidding, my advice, if you're on 6.3 for Unity, before you go to 6.7 as a stopgap, go to 6.5. For anybody wondering why I'm saying if you're on 6.3 instead of going straight to 6.7, go to 6.5. Unity 6.5 actually had introduced a lot of the API that's replacing stuff for like course like domain reload, like not only this stuff but also like the panel renderer. So if you can go to 6.3 and 6.5, you can update your project there as a stopgap. That way you don't have to update your entire project at once. And then whenever you think you're ready to move to 6.7, if your project works in 6.5 for the most part, as long as it's not like domain related code, so like the assembly like reloading events, like and by assembly reloading events I mean like I forgot like what pages. There's just so many pages. Oh, actually, no, it's in this one. I'm meaning assembly reload events. Yeah, this one. So like, as long as you're not using like assembly reload events or initialize on load, stuff like that, you might be able to just go straight to 6.7. But I would honestly go to 6.5 first as a stopgap. When you're on 6.5 implement like the auto static stuff that I mentioned, like implement this wherever it needs to be. If you're using UI document, you might want to, like if anybody is using UI document, I would honestly try to go one at a time and replace it with panel render UI toolkit. Panel render UI toolkit is, yeah, it is. You're right. It is. That's actually what I was checking. Some of these, like the mathematics, is actually going to be integrated as well. It's already installed as a dependency, but Burst Compiler is already integrated. As you see, there's no like Burst Compile package, but it is already integrated. Mathematics, as far as I understood, give it like the input system and mathematics should be integrated in 2 to 3 weeks. Or sorry, 2 to 3 patches. The next patch is CoreCLR builds. So like not alpha 1 of 6.7, but alpha 2. So like I said, 2 to 3 weeks, CoreCLR build should be available for everyone. So just heads up if anybody's looking forward to doing that. But yeah, mathematics should be, unless there was a plan change, but I haven't heard anything about a plan change. Do you know, you'll also notice that there is a graph offering package. If no one's seen this here, well, let's just say it's the 2.0 of shader graph and visual effects graph. Yeah, we finally got it. We're finally getting the shared graph tooling for shader graph. Actually, you know what? We haven't opened that up yet. I'm kind of curious. I have not opened up the, as far as I know, the first few like alphas, the shader graph and visual effect graph shouldn't look different. Oh, actually, you know what? They might already be different. You know what? Let's screw it. Let's jump right into it. Let's go and just jump right into it. Let's just create something real quick. I want to see something. Let's go to the visual effect graph, actually shader graph, because I know it more. Spread unlit. I have actually not opened this yet. As far as I know, it's supposed to look the same for now. Oh wow, it is. Okay. I don't know. I can't explain it on like to people, but it's normally when I get into like shader graph, it's like super like panning and stuff is kind of like slow. It actually feels responsive and stuff. Actually, let's go to let's actually open up one that's already had stuff. Let's see. Yeah, even the VFX graph seems a little bit more responsive. Oh, okay, yeah. So it looks like it's just like the back end for the VFX graph, and the shader graph is already using the new graph tooling. So if you're using 6.7, do note this is 6.7. Oh, I think it's only in 6.7. There's now a common graph offering. I don't know if the manual page is ready yet. Nope. I was like, wait a second. I don't think they made that public yet. So I kind of figured the graph offering tool. And you know, right now it's used for like shader graph and visual effect graph. It's going to be used for animation. I don't know if I should say that. Who cares? As far as I understand, it might be used for also the new animation tooling coming up. So I don't know if that's confirmed or denied yet, or if I should say that yet. So just heads up, the graph offering might be used with that. So and if anybody's like kind of curious, like what it all is, well, if you notice that. It actually I don't even know if it actually shows to do, because there was a couple like patches where they are packages that they just completely hid stuff. Nope. Okay, it works. Oh yeah, provider library. Okay, yeah. Okay, so cool. I love how the second they added dictionary serialization support, a lot of like packages started moving a lot more stuff to that. I'm assuming the definition provider is just like a collection of strong hints. Yeah, it is. Okay. For anybody wondering like why this is actually important and so useful, well, I can actually show you how to create a custom shader graph node right now if you want. I gotta remember what project it's in. Was it in my ERP shader demo? I actually do not remember which project I had it in, but like what I'm about to show you, even though it's not the graph offering API, it's actually called the shader reflection API. You can actually use it starting at 6.5, and you can actually create custom shader graph nodes. Just saying. I think actually, yeah, you know what, I made a video earlier, but I'll go ahead and open it. If anybody wants me to like see if I can find any differences, I know the animation panel is already slightly different. Do you know like Unity has already moved away like a lot of their old MGUI stuff to like the new UI toolkit. Well, I mean, I can't say new. It's been, God, it's been here for how long? Like it's been here for a long time. Actually, you know what? Let's go to the player animation. I want to go to player animation controller. I want to go to the, let's go to red dagger. Oh yeah, you can actually see the changes in the animation thing already. Do you know, they actually, this actually came to 6.6 beta, so you can actually see this as well. You'll notice that the animation thing has a very small, slightly change in stuff. That's because it's now UI Toolkit. Oh, I know something that most people probably don't know about. Ooh, let's actually go in here. Let's... Actually, did they fix that bug? I reported this. Yay, they did. Okay. Fun fact, literally up until this morning, I couldn't open the UI viewport unless I used a bug. If anybody hasn't seen this, here you go. This is brand new. People have always been wanting to. Yes, we have a scene view UI layer. Oh yeah, I forgot. I was updating my theme sheet, so my UI might look a little off. But we actually have it where we can actually update our UI toolkit elements inside scene view. No joke. So you can actually see it's scene view up here. Let me see if they also fix that bug, because there is a, let's randomly add a source. This is also why I said you need to update to panel render from UI document. You have to use a panel render for this. The panel render adds new animation tools to the UI toolkit. It adds new shader stuff and new graphic stuff. So just heads up. I'm gonna just randomly, you know what, let's just, I'm gonna just choose a, I was trying to see if I could find, yep. Oh, you know what, I probably have to update that one. Okay, yeah, so I want to see, yes, they did fix it. Okay. Up until today, I had to abuse a bug to actually force the UI viewport to open, but they finally added it because there was literally no option to like you open UI viewport, and there's also there's no arrow key here. For anybody wondering, the UI viewport is an updated version of the UI builder, but not for editor tools, for scene editing of UI toolkit. So like, and you have to have the new hierarchy enabled inside project settings. Do you know you can actually start using a little bit of this inside 6.6? Some of this is already in 6.6. Yeah, let's enable this so we can actually show you guys all the new UI toolkit stuff. Half of these work inside 6.6. Some of them really mainly works for 6.7. Oh, hey, they actually gave a separate option for UI viewport. Auto open windows. Yeah, okay. Cool. Just want to make sure I have all those. Okay, so now if I actually open this, yay, it works. I have it in like isolated view right now, but as you see, like you can actually like just open up a new thing. It looks like UI builder, but it's not the same. So if I actually go in here, I'm gonna actually where did it? Oh, I'm gonna open up the UI library real quick. Yeah, instead of using like the UI builder, you can actually like just open up like the UI viewport and have UI panel. I'm gonna just do a couple of things here. I'm gonna just throw in some fields. Let's also throw in like a button or so. Yeah, let's just add in a button as well. Basically, the UI viewport actually uses the normal hierarchy instead of like that crappy old hierarchy for UI builder, and it also uses the default inspector. The reason why that's important is, well, here you go. For example, multi-select. Do you know they haven't added too much for the multi-object select for scene UI viewport. And again, this is actually editing UI inside the scene mode. So you can actually like see that and so forth. But one of the things about like the multi-select is sooner or later you're going to be able to actually edit multiple UI elements inside the UI viewport. I think they're probably going to add some stuff still in like the 6.6 beta. I don't know like how much they're going to add more to the 6.6 beta, but for Unity 6.7 alpha, you can see like they actually have like highlighting. So like if I actually select certain buttons or like hover over like the UXML preview, I can actually see it highlighted. If I actually had like a style sheet loaded, like some of these actually had that class, it would actually highlight them as well. I can actually just go over here and I can do a lot of things inside of here. I do like the filtering. For example, like you can actually see if you have any override. So you see here button has no override. Well, if I actually go into the button and I actually go to size, I'm going to just say like 50% here. Now if I go to overrides, oh look, you have your width here. So the thing about the overrides is like it's for like if you have any inline USS, which is very nice. I think they actually already backported this, so this part might actually for the UI builder as well. Actually, I could probably just like open up the UI builder and let's see. I'm pretty sure they already backported this to the UI builder as well. So I think it's at the bottom though. Let's see. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Nope. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure if they backported it yet or not, but looks like they have not actually backported it. Oh well. But yeah, so that's one of the better things about the UI viewport is you can actually like filter out. Oh, you can see bindings too. Yes, you can actually see like runtime data binding. So if anybody's like doing data bindings inside of like a UI toolkit, you can bloody just see them now inside there. You can also see the animation. Do note if you're doing animations inside the UI toolkit, let me actually exit this. I'm going to discard changes. If anybody's actually using animations, there is a UI animation specifically. I'm pretty sure if you actually just go to like a UI toolkit, I think there is actually yeah, there's like you can see here there's a UI animation clip. Since I don't have like I think I actually have to have a UI panel like highlighted. No, maybe I might actually have to have the oh, okay. I was thinking maybe it appears whenever you have it highlighted. I do know that if I actually just go to animator and I actually add like a animator component here, and also like open up the animation window. So I'm actually going to open up the animator. Wait, did they finally hold on? I want to see. Hold this over here. I want to see if they did it this as well. I'm pretty sure this is actually a little bit I went into. So I created a custom package and put it on GitHub, and it tried to since I was inside that package, it tried to save it there. Let's try that again. Let's do this, and I'm gonna just we're just gonna save it here. I should be able to go and do. Okay, you should be able to see USS styling. Oh, wait. Okay, so this is my warning, just heads up. Actually, it's in project settings. Whenever to do like animations inside UI Toolkit, you have to enable UI Toolkit animations. But I forgot, I just enabled it. You actually have to tell the editor to restart. So I'm actually gonna just restart the editor. You do have to restart the editor for it to start doing UI animation support. After enabling that. Oh, well, that's actually enabling or like working. I can actually show like what I was talking about when I said you could actually create like a custom like shader graph nodes. Yeah, so we'll have that appear. Okay, so while the other IDEs appearing, we're gonna just go back and forth. Okay, now if I actually click this, it should show. Yeah, okay. Aw, okay, well, that's fun. I literally tested this, or I actually got it working nearly a couple days ago. That's, I was actually testing out animations and stuff a couple of days ago. And I was like, let's actually go here. I want to see like if I even have like the panel thing selected. Nope. Well, that sucks. Because they were actually pairing as like actual like USS things or like actual like USS panels like stuff. But oh, you know, I bet I know what it is. Okay, SF inventory actually dynamically creates all the visual elements. I'm gonna actually switch it out with like something that's not dynamically created. I have a feeling that might be part of the problem there. Oh yeah, that was okay. I was right. So self-learning lesson. If you have a visual element that's dynamically created, the animation tools for UI does not appear whenever you add property. But as you see here, you can actually now like add animation for the actual animation window and timeline, and you can actually like go through and you could literally choose a visual element and you can actually add animation. So you can actually add a filter that's animated. You could have it grow in size. You could change like the color, blur radius and stuff. And you could basically do a lot of like animation thing. For example, world space animations, you could actually do like a Borderlands like floating like a window box whenever you're like looking at an item and it has like a description, the box like bounces up and down. That's one thing you could do. But yeah, so for anybody that's like coming to the stream, also I just want to warn, I'm just kind of showing off like stuff that you can do, like that you can actually start doing with the 6.6 and 6.7. I have noticed that 6.6 and 6.7 is a lot faster. I mean, a lot faster. I want to see this now. I was going to show this off, just so people can actually see how to like actually create like a actual like a custom node. Yeah, custom shader nodes. There we go. Yeah, okay, scrolling. For anybody that's ever wanted to create like a custom like shader graph node, yeah, we're kind of bouncing back and forth on topics, sorry, but this is kind of just like letting people know like there's all these cool features you can use. Some of this is usable in 6.5. There's more stuff in 6.6 and 6.7. Just saying. But for anybody that's actually wanting to create like a custom like a shader graph node, you can actually just create like a HLSL file. Starting in 6.5 as well. If you actually get a rendering, actually no, it's under shader now. If you can actually create an empty HLSL, you can actually just create an empty HLSL, and I can just say like dummy graph node. I'll just say like dummy graph node, open it up, and at the top of like your empty HLS node, there's an include file. This actually tells Unity to include this as a custom graph. If you notice, I also have like an export reflection function, and there's also a custom like method name. Make sure the method name actually matches your like file name. Just heads up, or it won't work. But I can actually go here. I can actually say dummy graph node, and I can actually just like have like different stuff here, and this will actually generate a custom shader graph node that you can use. Do you know, if you're going to do this, if you're creating like custom shader graph nodes, definitely want to add what are known as param hints. So the param hints basically let the shader graph know that your custom node, like what their input and output ports are. So like the shader graph float2 shows like input output port, and you need to make sure the name matches whatever your parameter name is. So UV, you can even set a default here. And you can see I have scrolling speed, same thing. I have all the param hints and stuff. And at the very end, you want to make sure you set up a provider key. I'm actually going to set up the provider key to be the same name as this file. And just for reasons I've found, like no matter what, you want to make sure provider key matches the name of your file. And also the same thing for your method. And then you can actually like set up a display name. So I'm going to just say dummy graph. Actually, I'll just say dummy node. And I'm going to put inside a dummy search. Just show this off, just so people can actually see like, hey, how does this work? Like I said, most of this works in 6.5 as well, but there's more stuff in 6.6 and 6.7. Mainly they added new features inside of the actual new graph offering stuff. Like the graph offering package is literally has a lot of new features, and as far as I know, this is only for 6.7. I don't think they're going to backport it to 6.6 beta, but basically the graph offering thing will be used as the common core package for like custom graph tools for Unity's features. So like shader graph, visual effect graph, might do like a Rider does, JetBrains Rider does have HLSL support. Rider actually does have HLSL support. Like I can actually say like different like frac things. So yeah, as you see, like it even pulls in Unity's different preprocessor definitions and also constant values. And if I actually click it, well, depending on the context, it might not be able to find it, but Rider actually does have like HLSL support. It has made life a lot easier whenever creating that custom ocean generations. But anyways, to just prove that, hey, this is actually a thing, I'm going to go to shader graph. I'm going to just do unlit shader graph, blah, blah, blah. Just bring it in. And then I should be able to do dummy. Oh, look, my dummy graph node. You can see UV, scroll, and then also time to delta 2. So yeah, so that's actually one of the ways you can actually create your own custom shader graph nodes. If anybody's wondering like what nodes and stuff I was working on, this was like my earlier tests when I was just testing out like different shader stuff. I don't like using shader graph. I prefer to actually do it inside of my things. They were prototype. I was just throwing together prototype assets. Basically, I was testing out like creating a decal that follows a like a shockwave, like a sword shockwave blade that like creates like little like rocks and stuff. And if anybody was like wondering like what I actually used that custom like the actual like shader graph API for, I actually have this little sucker where I can actually just have like a blood blade, like a blood actually follow like a sword model, so I can actually like create like a blood splatter as like a sword hits the enemy and stuff. If anybody's ever curious like what I was using that shader graph or shader code for. Also, if anybody has anything they want me to like talk about or like demonstrate, I'd be more than happy to like demonstrate like or like show stuff. I actually managed to I got the sim working for like my project. So if anybody's wondering like sim, like I'm talking about like CPU instruction like optimization stuff, and I can actually show this off. Do you know the only performance hit I've ran into so far is actually the animation renderer. I think I just put in like scenes and then like sandbox, right? Yeah. I'm not gonna save the scene. Let's actually like close this. But for anybody wondering, like I do a lot of tests where I test how far I can push like my custom physics and stuff like that. And yeah, I like no frame drops at all. If I remove the animator and use what is called render sprite, graphics.render sprite, I can actually get 1 million sprites on screen with collision detection without a single frame drop. I was very proud of that. If anybody's wondering like how this, I can actually show how this is possible. If anybody hasn't like seen my channel and stuff, I do a lot of burst compile code and multi-threading code. So you'll see like and custom physics. Like I don't even think I can add I think I completely removed colliders from my thing. Yeah, let's actually, I want to see this. Can I even add a box cutter? I think hey, my modules got reset. I just saw a few different things. I actually, okay, apparently when I updated to 6.7, it reset some of my modules. It did. Oh yeah, because the 2D sprite shape update forces physics 2D. But in all my projects, I actually have like a rolled out solution for physics. I don't use colliders at all. So, but I can actually, I'll show that off real quick because this is new API people might be curious about. If anybody, well, I mean, everyone's used transform. Whenever people think of like, how do you keep track of like the position rotation of stuff inside Unity, a lot of people think of transform. I hate transform. I prefer transform handle. This is introduced in Unity 6.3. Yeah, transform handle is literally like a handle, entity ID handle kind of for a data struct, or sorry, a C# struct. And it actually can be used to sync with the transform component. And the reason why that's important, transform handle being a struct actually can be burst compiled and multi-threaded in an iJob system. where the transform component cannot. So if you notice, I have like, instead of transforms, I use transform handle, and you can actually like shove them into a transform access array too, stuff like that. So if anybody's kind of curious, like how I can actually get like, let me see, let's actually, I'm going to actually remove the animator just for now. Even though like the objects are, or like the components are disabled. Fun fact, depending on what you're running your code, even if the components are turned off, you can actually have like different lifecycle methods like awake and stuff actually still run. So that's why I'm just removing completely. But using this new API, like the transform API, I can easily just say like, okay, spawn 10,000 bats. Let's go. Yeah, no frame drops at all. If I implement the when I do the graphics.render sprite API, I was able to get up to 1.2 million. And do you know that I can actually have them like do like patrolling too. So there's actually like AI pathfinding without a single frame drop. I'll just show this off because I hope to let people know about really good API. That's kind of what the point of this channel is, just show people API that they might not have known existed. Basically, every game object, every component actually now has a built-in transform handle. So that's not a variable I wrote, that is actually part of the base component class. So any object that has like a transform component has a transform handle to go along with it. And basically anything you do to transform handle is actually synced to the transform component, even if you do that data change inside a burst compiled or multi-threaded code. And since it's a struct, it's a little bit better memory management. So for anybody wondering how this happens, I have a native array here, transform handle. I actually, during start, I create a set of self-reference target transfer handles. And basically how do I get the target transform handle? I just get the target transform, and even the transform component has a reference to its own transform handle. And if anybody's wondering how you identify transform handle, it's an entity ID. That's literally it. Like if I were to show a public transform handle inside of the inspector, it literally showed integer or sorry, it's 64-bit long. It's literally just entity ID. That's all it is. But basically, I actually have a burst compiled code that actually takes in like a transform access, and I use native arrays for better performance and better memory management. You can actually tell a transform access array, and this is a built-in Unity thing. Unity actually added this, so you can actually do a lot of like transform handle. And do note, you can actually pass in like an array and stuff of transforms, and it will also convert it over to unmanaged memory for burst compiled and multi-threaded support. But I basically just take a transform access array, I set the transform in, and the moving transform handle list is literally my native array of transform handles here. And I basically just say create a new transform access array if one has not been created. If one has been created, just set these values. And basically during the update, I just have a job running. So if we actually look at this, do note it is a iJob parallel for transform. It is not just a iJob, and it's not just a iJob for each or anything. It's specifically iParallel for transform. For anybody that hasn't seen the iParallel for transform, it is a specific iJob type meant to actually accept and work on transform access arrays with a lot higher performance. Like I'm talking like a 2 to 3 times performance compared to like just using an iJob if you're using a transform access. But that's actually why we have a transform access array, because you actually have to use it inside of a iJob parallel for transform. And basically I'm just calculating, I'm checking to see like, okay, is the object we're trying to move within distance? And I use the mathematics library and normalize. Reason why I'm using mathematics library, I'm building towards ILCP. Well, I said that really wrong. I'm not building towards mono right now. If I actually go in here, I'm doing IL to CPP. That's why I'm using mathematics library. Fun fact, mathematics work better with anything that's AOT compiled. So ahead of time compiling, so like ILCTPP. If you're just doing mono building, like using mono behavior and building with it, just go ahead and just use the mathfx, and instead of flip 2s or in flip 3s, use vector. So math and float 3s instead of vector 3s, and math if you're doing ILCTP. If you're just doing a mono standard build, use the normal vector. You'll get better performance doing this. And basically, I just normalize safe, and then I calculate it, the change in movement. And I just set the transform handle position, so transform access stop position, and I just say, hey, the current moving position, so the current position of the object we're moving, then plus that. And this will actually tell the transform handle to sync it. And because it's all unmanaged memory and it's multi-threaded, we can just get a ridiculous amount of stuff on the screen. And I like, do you know? Oh, okay. So fun fact. Okay, in Unity 6.6, I actually had 0 frame drops. So I noticed that some of my settings got changed in 6.7 or when I update it. So I'll have to check to see what settings got changed. But like in before my settings got changed, I actually had like 0 frame drops. I'm pretty sure I know what it is. It's actually my burst compiled. I bet my burst compiled project settings got changed since burst compiler is now like embedded into it. Let me actually check that real quick. Yes, yes. I was wondering what happened. Yeah, okay, so I was right. Okay, so yeah. So I actually had optimized for like performance and a few other things, and I had certain like floating modes. Okay, I was wondering. I was like, my performance got nuked when I updated. So just one setting got changed. So can you use transform handle as a replacement for transform in non-burst code? Yes, you can. Fun fact, I do that. So if I start to do that, I still got a couple places that I need to like do that. And like let's go to, I was gonna see trying to take like let me close some of these real quick, and I can actually show where I do that. Actually, you know what, the fastest way would probably be if I just go into my yeah, let's just find usages. Yeah, here we go. Also, if anybody's wondering what I was talking about, like getting 1.2 million on screen, yeah, it's using this. I combined the graphics render sprite and the transform handle to there. Let's go to, yeah, my pathfinding and my patrol pathfinding. All right, I'm going to open up my pathfinding script, so I'm actually going to close that without saving. And so you're asking if you can use transform handle without burst compiled code? Yes, you can. I actually, you'll notice I have one transform. So the reason why I have one serialized transform is just to get the target. If I want to set a target in the inspector, when setting the target from the inspector, you can actually see down here that like I'm actually converting that target to the transform component to a transform handle. Let's actually go techword. Oh, actually, I think I actually can completely remove this because I actually found a way that I do not have to worry about that anymore. But the short answer is yeah, you can. You can use transform handle non-burst compiled code. Basically, I used a transform handle in custom A-star pathfinding. There's still some stuff that I got to replace. You'll notice that there's some vector 2s instead of like float 2s. So there are still some things that I need to like actually replace still for like burst compiled code and non-burst compiled code, and a few other things. Basically, all the pathfinding thing does is it just sets a target, asks the target to create a A-star path, and I basically have like a queue for all objects that are requesting a path, and I basically just like go through like iJob and process all the paths through a couple different places. But yeah, I'm trying to think. Since Unity 6.7 alpha is literally just in the first one, in a couple of weeks when the second alpha come out, I'll have a lot more stuff I could show. Just remember, this will cause an error in 6.7 now. I do think during the first alpha it's warning, but they are going to move it to error. So I think they even mentioned it here. I'm pretty sure they even mentioned it under the changing things. I believe. Yeah, compile error. So currently, like the first alpha, currently some are warnings, but in a couple alphas, they're going to convert those warnings into an error. So just heads up. So like, if I remove this non-serialized, that in like 2 alphas of Unity 6.7, that's error, that won't even compile. For anybody wondering why that won't compile, this actually creates an infinite serialization loop. Since reference loop is a non-object class, a non-Unity object class, it's just a pure C# class that's serialized, and we're creating a like inside of it is a reference to another reference loop. That reference loop will create a reference variable inside of it that's serialized to another reference loop, and so forth and so forth, and it will literally create an infinite serialization loop and error out. So this is actually going to be error soon. To fix it, you just have to say non-serialized. Yeah, I'm honestly like trying to think of like what all else I could like mention, like people to think about. I guess TLDR, start learning about the auto stack cleanup to remove stuff. Remove on initialize load, like this on initialize. On load, actually, I don't think it'll actually appear anymore. Anyways, start using on code initialize instead of like on load initialize, stuff like that. Oh, initialize on load, not on initialize. Yeah. So start preparing to remove initialize load. Depending on what you're using it for, you might be able to replace it with either on code initializing, or you might have a couple other options you might be able to use for it. So auto stack cleanup, non-auto stack cleanup for static and variables and events. Replace initialize on load. Replace editor scripts that's using interplay mode. If you have anything that's using instance ID, go ahead and remove it. I'm not going to tell people to just go ahead and like replace everything with transform. I don't do that, seriously. Transform handle is literally just like I said, it's just like if you really need a huge amount of performance and you didn't want to use ECS, because I mean this is kind of overkill, like being able to spawn like thousands of enemies that actually can like pathfind and actually get to a target. But if you're needing something that's like high performance with moving a lot of enemies for like A-star pathfinding, you can use transform handle instead of transform component. One example of when you would want to use transform handle, Vampire Survivor is a good game. If you're trying to replace or like recreate Vampire Survivor where you have hundreds, even thousands of enemies on screen, you could use a transform handle instead of transform. Another case is a strategy game. If anybody's ever played like Age of Empires or anything like that, and you want to be able to like drag and select multiple enemies and like be able to move and have like hundreds of individual units on screen, you might want to use transform handle instead of transform. Yeah, and like I said, replace UI document with UI panel if you're able to do it already. If anybody's wondering why I say that, the panel render has the register reload or register unloaded methods that will help prevent a lot of like errors that you find inside UI Toolkit. So you might want to go ahead and start doing that. All these things, like if you have like all these stuff prepared, you should be able to go to CoreCLR very quickly. Like I'm saying, in 2 or 3 weeks, if you already have all the stuff I mentioned, as long as you're not using a plugin like a DLL that needs change like Fmod or something, you might actually be able to just go to CoreCLR, have a build working without changing any code, as long as you done all this stuff, like as long as you already done like the stuff I said for preparing. Do you know the fastest way to know if your project works with CoreCLR? Turn off domain reload and see if your game still works as expected, in editor at least, because that's going away. So if you want to go ahead and start figuring out, is your project CoreCLR ready, turn this off, implement this to do static cleanup without domain reload. Prepare to do like some source generation, which Unity's API does that. In fact, this actually creates some of the source generation for you. Trying to think what else. I think we've pretty much gone through a lot of it. We've gone through what packages are now built into the editor, panel render, replacing UI document. We've gone over the new lifetime management. Make sure you're using make sure the setting is on, because if anybody's wondering what this setting does, So let's actually go back to like scene. This will be very noticeable. If anybody's wondering like what does this setting do? So I'm going to open a panel renderer. You'll notice that I have my visual elements here. I can literally drag them. I can actually put them into inspector fields and stuff like that. Well, the reason why you need this setting, yeah, they disappear. If you have this setting on, it actually tells the new hierarchy to, and this is a new hierarchy, like this hierarchy, they rewrote the entire hierarchy in like 6.5. And you can see that setting. I think instead of saying enable and scene UI offering, I think it's called, the setting was originally called in 6.5 enable new hierarchy. So when you have that enabled, that's when you can start seeing the UXML and stuff like that. So I know a lot of people have stayed on UGUI because, you know, it was a little bit harder to edit UI Toolkit and scene. Well, you now have the UI viewport, which is literally in-scene editing of UI. You can see your UXML and your classes. You can see your data binding stuff inside of like the inspector, stuff like that. So make sure you have that option turned on. Also, if you want to do any of the animation toolkit stuff, you also need that setting turned on. If your settings are turned off and you set them on, do note for the toolkit animation thing, you have to restart the Unity editor. If you don't restart it, you won't. The UI animation clip stuff won't be activated. Try and think. I'm gonna just go through all project settings to make sure I didn't miss anything for you guys. As far as I can tell, I love how they moved the hierarchy thing into like here. Oh yeah, if anybody hasn't seen like a 6 point, I don't know how many people have actually seen like some of the new stuff in 6.7 and stuff like that. There's new for 2D developers. You might actually like this. I like it. I love this a lot. Let's actually go to a tile map real quick. So here's a showcase of like stuff for the tile map. We finally got tile syncing. Okay, for anybody that doesn't know what tile syncing is, if you see here on the tile map, there's this little clip here. You'll see sync active palette, and do note you can sync the palette or like you can sync the tile sprite sheet and the default brush separately. So if you have like, for example, if I have this platform layer here, I could say sync to let's go to Castle palette. So I can sync this up. So I'm going to click on a different tile map layer. I'm going to switch out what did that cause domain reload? Interesting. I don't actually know why Unity just did a code reload there. Fun fact, fun thing. I'll have to look into that. But let's actually go. So I'm going to go to my clock tower actual tile map. Now, since I synced this thing with the other tile art, the second I click into it, notice it loads it. So you can actually do layer syncing. And what it'll do is whenever you click on the layer and go into start editing and start painting on that layer, it'll automatically change to the correct tile sheet that you're using. So basically, you don't have, you don't have to like click this drop down and so forth. Also, you can, like I said, you can sync brushes and stuff like that. So if you have a custom brush, like let's say you have a water layer or a random layer, you can literally just go here and it'll automatically switch to brush. It may not be much right now, but they're adding more features. But for 2D devs, that's been annoying just having to go back and forth, do that. Also, you could create new custom lights too. Fun fact, okay, this is super early work. Let me actually add a new light real quick. Let's go to light. Spotlight. If you notice, there's a God Rays 2D in the light 2D drop down over here. So you'll notice there's literally a new option here. There's God Rays 2D. Well, where's that from? That's from me. Another thing for Unity 2D devs, you can create your own light provider. Now, that is already supported inside of Unity 6.5. You know, I'm still working on this. I was reading into new API, and I was also reading into like the new blend shape buffer range stuff. That's not specifically new, but there is a sprite blend shape version of it now. Yeah, sprite blend shape vertex and stuff like that. I've been looking into that. But for anybody that wants to create their own custom 2D light system, you can actually just inherit from like 2D provider. For anybody that's seen it, provider is like the data stuff, like the base data stuff for pretty much anything. Not just like light. Like there's literally a provider 2D for textures and stuff. Like you can actually create your own custom like tile map and stuff. You can create your own custom like sprite editor. I think I removed it from this project because I was just testing it out. Actually, I'm pretty sure I did. Yeah, actually, I know I did. But you can actually create your own like custom sprite editor, and you can actually use the provider data stuff to actually add new features to the sprite data. What's my opinion on the latest Unity beta alpha releases? Okay, so do note, I'm going to be very heavily, I'm going to be very heavily like, how should I say? I can't give a biased thing because if you go to Unity's website, my name is on Unity's official credits page for betas and alpha features. So it's kind of hard for me to actually give biased stuff or like a biased thing. I love it. But I mean, that's literally, I kind of helped with like enough that they actually put my name on the credits page. Like literally you can go to Unity's forums, you can go to like, they have special credits pages for like alphas and betas. And you can see my name there. So there's a reason why I've seen and know a lot of this stuff. It's because I've literally helped with bug reports, like and then like the custom into the ID tiles and stuff. I had fun with that. So the hierarchy v2, the reason why they did it, I'm not sure if you were here earlier, but the reason why they did that is because of the like they wanted to make it where other stuff can start seeing more data inside custom editors. Fun fact, one of the reasons why actually, you know what, this is a great example of why. So I'm going to open the old UI builder. Do you know the UI builder is still important for like editor tooling, but I'm going to also open the UI viewport. For anybody that wasn't here when I was talking about this, you can actually see there's actually in scene, like this is actually in scene mode editing of UI now. And you can even see up here scenes SF inventory, and I can actually like edit a lot of the stuff. Do you know the UXML file I have open is dynamically generated, so that's why there's like nothing appearing. But if we actually get to UI builder, if anybody has worked with the UI toolkit, you might have noticed that sometimes what you see in the UI builder does not match up with your game view. If anybody has ever wondered why that is a thing, panel settings. So if anybody's ever wondered why their UI builder like preview does not match up with any of their UI stuff inside game mode or stuff like that, so panel settings is thick. The old hierarchy couldn't really, you couldn't grab certain data. And so the UI builder was built with old API doing that. So the UI builder cannot actually grab the panel settings stuff. For anybody wondering why that changes stuff, if we actually go into our panel settings, let's see what's in the panel settings section. Oh, look, scale mode, screen match mode. So literally the UI builder, couldn't actually see your scale mode settings. It couldn't see your render mode settings, your reference resolution, your reference stuff, or even your dynamic atlas settings. And because the UI builder could not see your panel settings, sometimes your UI in the UI builder did not match what you saw in game view. So if anybody's ever wondering why that's a thing, that's why the UI builder wasn't accurate. But with the new hierarchy, the UI viewport, the biggest difference is the UI viewport can actually get the actual setting, like the actual panel settings. And because it can see the panel settings, it can actually render accurately like UI visual elements. So what you see in the UI viewport is actually what you're most likely going to see inside the game view. So that's actually one of the big reasons for the hierarchy 2. Another reason for the hierarchy 2 is the hierarchy node API. So like if you know, you don't need to use let me get out of my custom light 2D stuff. Let me actually go into something. Let's go Also, if anybody, just saying, if anybody needs help like pulling or like backporting .NET 10 API, I actually had to backport .NET 10 API in like Unity 6.3. So if anybody ever needs help with that stuff, they can ask me. I actually had to add like new span features that Unity didn't support into the .NET thing. But let's actually go, you know what? Yeah, my custom, let's go into my dialog system real quick. Let's go to, here we go. Let's go here. So there's this thing called, if I ever could spell right. Yeah, there's a nice little thing for hierarchy called like the hierarchy, I'm going to just call it H. Oops, I did not mean to say private there. Yeah, you can't even see like the data in there or anything. That's fun. But anyways, like the hierarchy has like a lot of new API and stuff that actually has like node types stuff. And you'll notice you'll see some is thread safe and so forth. Reason why they had that is the new hierarchy stuff can actually be taken off, depending on what you're doing, can be taken off the main thread. Which, by the way, is why if anybody's ever noticed, like when they update it to either 6.5 and start using the new hierarchy, you guys might have noticed like Unity started to get like a lot more like responsive, like literally a lot more responsive with like editor resizing, opening other editor tabs and stuff. That's why. Because the new hierarchy actually is thread safe and can be moved off of things and so forth, and it uses the what is called the new hierarchy stuff. Actually, I'm pretty sure. Do I still have the notes? They might actually have like a. Why am I never able to spell hierarchy right? I don't know why, but I have like a thing. Let's actually go here. Oh, also the new hierarchy has entity support for anybody wondering. Okay, I'm gonna have to get a lot of the pass a lot of the things. Oh yeah, here we go. Offering ID. There we go. So another thing about the new hierarchy is it supports offering ID. Offering ID allows for like selecting visual elements inside of like the actual like scene. So and dragging them inside of an inspector, which is very nice. I'm trying to also think. I'm trying to think of like everything that I don't want to like miss anything, like because there's so much here. Also, I guess I should say this, like all the for most part, all of the UI and editor has had the old like mGUI removed, and it's now like based off UI Toolkit. That's why the animator, that's why both the animator and the animation window seems to like be moving a little bit better and actually work a little bit better. All right, I opened up a test project. Also, do note, if anybody's wondering, all my code is public on GitHub. If anybody's ever curious, like I'm not kidding. Like everything I do is literally public on GitHub. If anybody's ever like curious about some of the stuff I do, let's actually go here. Do note the stuff I'm working on is currently like alpha, so and Unity 6.5 is the minimum version that I'm supporting. But if anybody's ever curious, like I do actually have like links inside, like on the channel and stuff to actually go to like the packages. The custom dialog graph tool that I made is literally just on a public GitHub. The custom physics components I made, if anybody's wondering what I mean by that, I literally have zero colliders or rigid bodies. I have zero rate casting or anything. I actually have like custom physics actual stuff. So you can see I have like a SF capsule shape that uses the new physics mode. And if anybody's wondering why in the world would I do that? Well, let's just say I wanted to see how far I could push like performance. So that's why I have a lot of burst compiled code. So literally a crap ton of burst compiled code that I've written. But yeah, yeah, the new hierarchy, a lot of the stuff Unity's been doing for last year has been behind the scenes, and basically Unity realized they needed to create a foundation, and that foundation could lead to other stuff. So the hierarchy having thread safe API was a huge thing, like a huge thing. Adding more provider support. Again, providers are what allows you to take data from certain Unity editor stuff and actually use it. Like there's a sprite provider. If anybody's wondering what the sprite provider is, that is actually what runs the entire, and I do mean it literally runs the entire sprite editor and tile map system. Like there's actually, let me actually do this real quick. If I actually go to Unity packages, I don't mind people see stuff. Warning, if anybody sees my sprite tools, I was literally writing my own custom sprite editor and stuff, and I stopped because I was like, okay, I'm going to just let Unity finish updating the provider stuff because like a lot of the API kept changing. I was like, okay. But anyways, as I was saying, a lot of the stuff Unity's been doing was to update the foundation. And 6.4, they got most of the foundation. 6.5, they start to actually really show some of that foundation to users. So that's why panel render is one of them. If people are wondering why the panel renderer was such an important thing, if we actually go into the panel renderer component real quick, let's actually go to the, let's actually go into my main menu real quick. Let's actually go to this real. If anybody's wondering why the panel renderer is so important, the old I can't say old UI document. UI document just came out in 6.2, but the UI document that was introduced in 6.2. If you notice, if you try add it, Unity will literally say, hey, migrate to panel renderer, even though it has literally the same settings. If we actually go to the two things, panel renderer inherits from renderer. Why is this important? That gives the panel renderer and UI toolkit more shader support, more graphics batching support. Like literally the differences between a UI document and a panel render, even though they literally have the same, like they take in a UXML file and a panel settings file, the differences between them is insane. Because panel renderer inherits from renderer, you have, this is going to sound weird, shadow support, lighting support, GPU batching support, better GPU batching. I mean, they had some better mesh support for like actually manipulating mesh data, like like using on text pre-processed. Sorry, my dog just made a weird noise if you guys heard it. But the inheriting from the renderer also allowed the panel renderer to have like motion vectors. You can actually use like motion vectors and stuff inside your UI. So the foundation change for UI toolkit was basically UI viewport, which is runtime UI editing instead of UI builder, using creating the panel render instead UI document, because UI document did not inherit from renderer, so the UI document did not have half the graphics support features that the panel renderer has, which, by the way, the panel renderer have inheriting from also renderer 2 built on top of the new setting inside of URP. For anybody, this is actually, if anybody's ever played a game and had an X-ray visor, like if anybody's ever played Metroid Prime 1, there's an X-ray visor in it. You guys, if anybody's ever tried to recreate that inside Unity using the render graph, you might have noticed some problems with trying to recreate X-ray visor. Certain things you cannot like put into a depth path inside a shader. So if you have a custom shader that has a depth path, you'll notice transparent layered objects don't fully work. And the reason why I bring that up is with panel renderer inheriting from the renderer class, you could have an X-ray visor and you could have world space UI be affected by that X-ray visor. So like, it's not just like it affects UI, it also lets shaders and post-processing effects affect it a lot better now. Now since transparency layers are actually supported inside like the depth path and stuff like that, I think that was introduced in Unity 6.6. It might have been 6.5. I'll have to double check. So I apologize. It's either 6.6 or 6.5. It's one of those two. But yeah. Panel renderer being added onto, like, inheriting from renderer is one of those foundation stuff. The hierarchy too is huge. Do note, if anybody doesn't use entity components, entity components also appear inside the hierarchy like a normal game object. I mean, it has a little bit of very different like a UI and icon thing, but you can actually see your entity components inside of the hierarchy. And that's why the hierarchy is also important, because people probably remembered Unity said they were going to make it where every game object has a entity object backing it up for better performance. Well, that's another thing that the hierarchy update actually starts to work on. The hierarchy update also makes it easier for like connecting game objects to entities and actually seeing them inside of like your hierarchy view. Because like before the hierarchy new update happened, you really couldn't see entity components very easily inside hierarchy. It's like that hierarchy change and the panel renderer introduction actually added so many new graphics features for UI. It introduced better performance and easier like seeing like entity related stuff inside of your inspect hierarchy and stuff like that. So it seems like the hierarchy is just like, oh, we get pretty new icons, we can actually add folders and stuff. No, it goes way beyond that. Sorry, rant. Like, I know that was a huge rant, but like those foundation changes are very important. Example is another important thing that happened, because that was the new surface and new post-processing fix. Actually, you know what? I wonder if that's actually usable inside 6.7. Do we have surface? Oh wait, I'm in a 2D project. Never mind. Okay, if you were in a 3D project, this might actually work. You know what? Okay, fun. I'm gonna just ignore. I'm gonna be like, I'm into like try to update that project. Okay, so this project I was accidentally opening is on 6.5. I'm gonna actually update it to 6.7 in behind the scenes. Do note it's just a test project, so like if something breaks, oh well. I have a version control also, so I'm not worried about it. But I was going to show you guys, there's also the new surface thing. No, the global, it's either surface global luminization or global luminization surface. It's the surface catch API, basically. If anybody has not seen the surface catch API, it allows dynamic catching of surface light on moving game objects with a lot higher support and performance. Okay, yeah. Oh wow, it's #1 on Unity's graphics thing. Yeah, okay. While this is actually opening, I can actually show videos and stuff. Surface catch. Okay, so do you know there are two different foundational stuff? Yeah, okay. I get videos and stuff. Yeah. Okay, so the surface catch allows indirect lighting and dynamic geometry changes. Before, you had a lot of limitations on actually baking bounce light and stuff. And what I mean by that, in this video I'm about to show, you notice there's a door. When the door opens, let's actually see it. See how the dynamic light actually comes in and actually properly calculates bounce lighting and stuff? That's the new thing I'm talking about. Basically, it's a higher performant surface catch system. That surface catch system also introduced a lot of like, it was built on a lot of new raycasting API. Do you know, I'm talking hardware raycasting. If anybody's ever heard of like NVIDIA's raycasting, stuff like that, or AMD's like raycasting for like rendering and stuff, Unity has a universal raycasting tool API that you can build on top of, and you don't need to use a GPU for it, so you don't need like NVIDIA or AMD's raycasting. Sorry, not raycasting, it's ray tracing. Ray tracing. I was saying the wrong thing. I was like, wait a second, not raycasting, ray tracing. And you can do a lot of stuff, but as you see, like a flashlight is a good example of like how like the flashlights actually change. Yeah, unified ray tracing API. Thank you. I don't know why I was going like blank on that. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. So basically, the unified ray tracing introduced the ability to do what I'm showing, or like this surface catch GI. So Unity built foundation tools for between 6.1 and 6.5, or sorry, 6.1 and 6.4. They built foundation tools, and then in 6.5 they started to actually show user side features with it, and that's why we're all of a sudden getting a whole lot of new features. That's why we're getting the surface catch, the panel renderer, the UI viewport, and all that kind of stuff. So Unity behind the scenes basically created a lot of foundation changes, and they spent a few versions like updating it, like making sure it's stable, and also like improving it. And now since those foundations are done, we're rapidly seeing a lot of new features. Again, and once CoreCLR is done, because CoreCLR is going to be a huge, it's been a multi-year task. Just think about it this way. Unity in last, between 6.4 and 6.7, they introduced a lot of like new features, UI, new 2D rendering stuff, new multi-threading stuff, improved burst compiler, updates to animation tools. That's while they've been working on CoreCLR in the background. Now, since CoreCLR is about to be shipped, that's going to free up a lot of like headache and resources, and we might see new features coming out faster from Unity, and that's a huge thing, because just imagine Unity has actually been moving at a slower rate than they would be if they were already on CoreCLR. But now, since we're actually getting to CoreCLR, once they're done stabilizing it, we're actually going to get to a point where Unity is going to be able to release new features faster, and they're going to be more stable and better performance from the start. Unfortunately, I know a lot of people are not going to like what I'm about to say, but that also means removing legacy features, because the more legacy code you are actually using, or like keeping in a project, the more like developer resources you have to actually keep it up, like preventing bugging, like, or prevent bugs from being introduced. Even if you add no features to legacy systems, Unity supports so many platforms, Nintendo Switch to PlayStation, Xbox. Imagine like one graphics change update, they have to check on legacy code to make sure that graphics change update did not break any platforms and LTSs. So by removing legacy code, they no longer have to check on each platform. And I don't know if anybody in chat has actually wrote code in Vulkan. It sucks. Okay, Vulkan is really good, but it is very boilerplate. So removing even a small amount of stuff that you have to like add to support new stuff for Vulkan rendering, like every single rendering change, it adds up. Just remember, the input system is being embedded in a couple weeks. So the input system is actually going to be no longer a package. It's actually going to be part of the editor. Burst compiler is already part of the editor. For anybody that wasn't here in the very start of the stream, you notice we have no burst compiler package, but I have the burst compiler inspector. You can even see my burst code is actually working. So burst compiler is now a built-in module. And again, the visual graph and shader graph is now built on top of the graph offering package. Just know graph offering is basically an extra layer on top of Graph Toolkit that Unity is using to add common features to all of their graph editors. So like if anybody's seen like the, okay, this is maybe a simple example, but I mean, it works. If I actually go to URP, let's actually go to just some of the random like graph stuff. If you know like Unity graphs, you can add like a little like sticky notes and stuff like that. I'm not kidding. They've had like different API per package for like just adding a note. If you see this graph offering package be added to your project in 6.7, you're wondering what the heck is that? Unity finally created a common package to add literally small features like this note thing. I don't think they moved it over yet. They just 6.7 Alpha 1 is the first Unity version with the graph offering package in it. But basically, Unity is actually moving over their common like API into a single package. So now there won't be two literal different APIs for creating a note inside of either shader graph or VFX graph. So if anybody sees that's actually what that is. I find that funny. Like literally both shader graph and like VFX graph notes and stuff are separate classes. I just find that laughable. So with this, they actually remove duplicated logic and actually lowers the code size inside 6.7. I gotta admit, like I can make like I can literally build this project. Do you know this is a ICTPP code project? So like I can build this like project, and I have multiple, like it's a Metroidvania project with multiple regions and like bosses and stuff, and it doesn't take a long time. So I literally went to Unity 6.7, made a hit the build button, and it worked right away. No errors. I'm not kidding. Granted, I already had I've already set up my code to use the auto stack cleanups and stuff. So if you're going to go to Unity 6.7 and you haven't moved a project to 6.5, move your project to 6.5 first before going to Unity 6.7. If you can't do all the code changes at once, go to 6.5 as a stopgap. Implement the auto static cleanup stuff. Implement like the on code initialization stuff if you need it. Not everyone will need it, but basically I would say 6.5 is a good stopgap because that also has the panel renderer, so you can go there, update your project a little bit at a time before you need to like fully go to like CoreCLR. I really hope they will. Okay, I really don't know how much I'm allowed to say. I know more than I'm probably supposed to know about Unity stuff. I think I accidentally mentioned on one stream. Actually, I think I accidentally showed some of the animation updates. I'm not meaning to. I haven't signed NDA, so hey. Do you know those stuff? I'm not even going to say a timeline and stuff. Why did I have this open? Oh yeah, I was going to see about the. One second. I wanted to see if surface catch stuff. All right, on top processing. I was gonna see if I think you have to have a certain setting. Can't remember. I'll have to. There's a certain setting you need set on to be able to see like the surface catch stuff. I cannot remember it for the life of me. But all right, I'm gonna actually like move these out of the way. Yeah, so a lot of the features in Unity was shelved because they didn't want to have to make a new tool and then literally within a few months rebuild the tool. So there's a reason why a lot of stuff. And honestly, they want to focus a lot on the unified ray tracing API and also a okay, that's what it was. I was like, man, I swear, like yeah. You're right, it is a preprocessor. I couldn't remember like I've only had to mess with it a couple times, but yeah, I'll have to look up preprocessor. I'll actually go ahead and close this. Okay guys, I'm trying to think what else I can possibly show off. Man, I think for the most part I've actually like showed off stuff. Let me actually check here. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything. If anybody uses like the profiler and stuff, just a heads up, they've finally started adding a lot more to the profiler. So they've added a lot more profile markers. Yeah, I gotta update that. I just have a broken UXML path because I moved folders around. Oh yeah, actually, you know what? That's a good example. It won't work on this specific one, but fun fact, if you actually go to like your UXML and stuff, this is a new feature. I think this is already in 6.5 as well. They literally backported all the way to 6.5. It was originally in 6.6 alpha, and then they backported it. But if anybody, like whenever you change Unity versions and stuff, and maybe UXML has like some formatting changes, there's actually apply upgrades button, so that way you don't have to manually update yourself. Also, anything that has like name changes for like UXML attributes, it'll also update that. If you have another UXML referencing a certain UXML and you move it, they actually added a way to just auto update the path. That way, like you can actually auto update like the changes in like pathing and stuff. You know, after you like apply upgrade, definitely you want to go to your assets and you want to click like update UXML schema. Just heads up. Definitely want to update the UXML schema after that. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, I really cannot think. Is there anything anybody wants me like go like show off? I said I can show off the I can show off anything like on transform handling. I can show how to create a like if anybody's curious how to do a graph, Or if you want to learn how to create your own custom tile palette, okay, that sounds weird at first. If anybody's wondering, like custom tile palette, what do you mean by that? I mean tile template, to be exact. If anybody has not seen like the tile template stuff, it's useful for automatically creating tiles without having to like manually do it. Yeah, I honestly am not sure what I could show off at this point because I've literally showed off quite a bit. You know what? If people want, I can also show off how like you would create like a dialog graph with the more recent versions Unity, and actually have that working inside like runtime. I also have like certain like ways to inject like sprites data from like scene hierarchy and stuff like that. This is using Unity's new Graph Toolkit API. I can actually go to my Metrovania. Let's go. I actually had to put this into my main runtime. And let's go here. While this is actually playing. Or sorry, while the left side is actually opening, because I was going to actually show off a couple things. Oh yeah, there we go. Let's do this. Sorry. Project opened up. I was going to show you guys something as well. Here you go. Here's some new API you can also use. Let's actually see. Yeah, texture sources, palette grid. So I believe I already have my custom tile palette. Nope. Okay. I need to create one real quick, and I can actually demonstrate this. 2D tile templates. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Fun fact. If anybody's ever used 2D before and they really hate, I'm gonna actually move this out of the way. Yeah, my computer is hating me. It's like, why you keep opening multiple projects? I'm actually gonna show this off, this API off. If no one's ever seen like this API before and never seen like the SF tile template, the tile template API allows you to create custom rule tiles with a single click of button. Not kidding. So here's some of the stuff you can do with it. So if I actually go to the open world, you'll notice I have like a couple of things like a SF tile template, and then there's like a game objects for tiles. You can actually set like a custom API and it'll automatically generate a tile palette for you without you having to like create a tile palette. And anytime you update it in a external program like Sprite, for example, it will actually update it automatically. So like if I actually update something inside like my Sprite editor, it'll actually automatically create like rule tiles and stuff for it. And basically you can also have it automatically generate the actual like palettes, and also create like sprite atlases as well. So let's see, let's actually grab one. There was a lot of like, okay, there's some of these that were literally just me like throwing around, so I can actually erase some of these. I was gonna see which one is my actual tile salad. Yeah, okay, here it is, Sprite Atlas settings. For anybody that hasn't seen this feature, Unity actually allows you to just shove in a texture into what is called a tile set. You can actually go to 2D, and under tile palettes, keyword tile palettes, not tiles, there's this thing called new tile set. If you actually click on it, you can actually add this source, and you can actually just shove in whatever texture you want. And if I actually just say apply, what it'll do is when I open up the tile palette, I can actually go in here and voila, it actually created my tile palette for me automatically. Like you guys saw, I didn't create any tiles or anything like that. And I can literally just like drag and drop. Also, if anybody's wondering, yes, I'm literally recreating Oracle Seasons just for pure boredom. I literally used Legend of Zelda Oracle Seasons and actually started recreating the game just as a test for like Unity 6.5, 6.6, and 6.7. What I was gonna say is like you can also have it automatically create or like rule tiles. If anybody's wondering, look into the tile template API, and there's a method you just overload called create tile assets. And basically what I have is it actually just goes through the texture of the actual tile, and you can actually add custom like objects to automatically create and add into your tile map. So you no longer have to manually create tiles and actually have like a crap ton of tile assets. Some people probably are used to having like a crap ton of like separate tile assets and stuff like that. Like for example, okay, so yeah, you can see like at my fence flowers, stuff like that. You no longer need to do that, just saying. So that's another thing people should look into for newer features and newer stuff. Do know this is actually newer than 6.5. It's just not a lot of people know about that. Oh yeah, I forgot I was looking into like the actual text generation stuff. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry guys. I really don't know what else I could show off for the Unity inside Unity 6.7. In 2 weeks, when CoreCLR is usable in an actual player build, I'll show that off. And I can show you like if there's any errors and stuff. What I'm probably going to do is I'll take a multiplayer project and I'll actually like on live stream actually update the multiplayer project to 6.7. But for the moment, I really don't have like anything else to show. Since it's the first alpha 6.7, there really isn't a lot to show at the current moment. But hey, I got a build that worked first time, no errors. I can't complain. Going to like so hopefully I'm ready for CoreCLR. But I think I'm going to call the stream here because I don't want to just like be a random rambling and that has like no meaning or educational meaning. I'll make a video showing how to use new API like unique style string. The physics 2D videos that shows how to create like a custom physics system. That's burst compiled and multi-threaded. That's what's coming up next. I'll actually be showing how to create like your own custom like physics shape components, and also how to create your own custom physics body components, and also how like multi-threaded or create your own custom tile map components. Like for example, I don't have a tile map collider. I actually have a burst and Jobified like a tile map shape that I'm using like native data collections to actually create a lot better performance. Like no offense, like using the physics shapes and physics bodies is a lot better. But I'll be showing how to create actual like your own custom physics components and stuff like that. But I'm gonna call it. Thank you all for watching. It's nice. 6.7 is actually here finally. It was super easy to upgrade as long as you have been like keeping an eye on like replacing legacy API. But I'm gonna head out. I'm hungry. I need to eat. You guys have a wonderful day. Thank you, Tech Dave, Shatterick, and everyone else that has been joining. Tomorrow I'll probably stream working on either like remaking like some of Metroid Prime's custom visors now, since Unity actually has support for the thing I was working on, or I might actually add new stuff to the public repos so people can actually like see some of the new features. Thank you, Batty. You have a great evening as well. I don't know why I almost said morning, but yeah, thank you all for coming here. I'll start making 6.6 API videos, and also showing off custom physics stuff as well. You guys have a good day. I almost said weekend. I'm still off from my month-long hospital medical treatment. By the way, quick note, I do apologize. I've been behind on videos. Like the visual visual element reference video tutorial, I was supposed to get that out like a week ago. I apologize on that. The month-long treatment, for anybody that doesn't know, I actually have narcolepsy, and I actually have, thanks to a brain, like an actual like hit to the brain, I went under a month-long treatment. And I was actually, so a lot of my tutorials and a lot of my videos have been delayed, but I'm back to normal. Well, okay, I still have narcolepsy, obviously, like they can't fix that, but I mean, I'm done with my treatment, so nothing should be delayed anymore. So I do apologize for all the tutorials getting delayed by a week or so. We should be back on track now. Take it easy, everyone, and you guys have a wonderful day.